It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want a ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
Welcome to Lions Nation Unite here. We are live on Tuesday at 4 p.m. here with my guy Mark Orms from Orms Forum. We may have some more guests that pop on, but right now we got Marky Mark. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? What's going on, everybody in the chat? Let's talk some Lions football.
Let's talk some Lions. And it's getting close. 100 days, Mark, away from the Lions kicking off the NFL season at Kansas City. Damn, that's close, man. Doesn't it feel close?
Super excited, man. It's getting closer and closer. You know, me and my boys are talking about getting tickets. You know, it's starting to ramp up. So, man, you know, I can't wait. We got another wave of OTAs coming soon, and then training camp right around the corner. Can't wait.
I can't wait to be at training camp. Are you actually going to be there this time? Every time I go, I ask, Mark, are you coming? I don't know. Mark, you live 15 minutes from there, right?
Yeah, well, I don't live 15 minutes away from Allen Park, though, right?
It's not that far away from the Detroit area. I live in Holland, dog.
Okay. Oh, no. I'm going to try to get out there 100%. I just got to get some dates and some times going. And then I will try to get out there for sure, man. I got to get out there 100%.
You got to get out there. You get to hang out with Speakeasy, myself, nice. Spenmo, Rax, probably be there. You get Dose of Dion. Everybody shows up, and it's a good time. We just hang out and talk football. We got Riley Elder, Man Bear Pig, Alan Dana, Devin Davis, Keith Hawley, Weston Lyon, Brent DeWitt, all in the building. And I'm sure people will start to flood in slowly as this bad boy is going. Let me know if you guys are going to go to training camp this year. If you are, let us know. I'd definitely love to meet up with everybody. I know that Riz and Detroit Lions podcast, they do their live show over there, and they get the local YouTubers. And, yeah, so I'm sure I'll be up there with those guys again. And that's, I don't know exactly what day it is, but it's the night. And so for sure, we'll get that going there. Mark, again, another day. Everyone's talking about the same topic again, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. Yeah, DeAndre coming to Motown, eh? Yeah, everybody that gets released, you know, superstar DeAndre Hopkins. You know, I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. Obviously, you know, DeAndre Hopkins, Hall of Fame wide receiver. We know what we're getting out of that guy. You know, I think he's a little bit on the wrong side of 30. I think he's going to be 31 coming up soon. Don't know his birthday for sure, but he is 30 years old. You know, with losing J-Mo for 6 weeks, you know, there's talks, you know, that he's a landing spot for Detroit. Now, you know what? I'm not, like I said, I'm a little bit on the fence with this. You know, we know what type of player DeAndre is, but we also know the type of guy. Apparently, he's a little bit of a diva. He's a little bit of a diva. He's thrown some OCs under the bus. Apparently, some quarterbacks. Doesn't take any kind of accountability for anything that goes kind of south, if you will, in an offense. Now, you know, he's going to come at a price tag, and he hasn't mentioned that he would like to play in Detroit. So, you know, there is 5 teams that he mentioned, or 5 quarterbacks that he mentioned, and Jared Goff wasn't one of them. So, you know, you're going to be like, and apparently the Lions did their homework on that. That, to me, that just means that they're trying to like see what type of guy he is. The video's out there. We all know what type of player he is, but the homework thing kind of just like, you know, 31 other teams are probably doing the same thing, or 30 teams, you know, because Arizona let him go. But it's just, you know, he's going to come at a price tag, probably $15 to $20 million. OBJ just got 18, and, you know, he's going to come probably maybe at the same price, maybe a little cheaper, a little higher. I don't really know. So I'm a little bit on the fence with it. I would like to see it probably happen maybe 3-4 years ago, but I'm just on the fence, man. Like, I know what type of player he is, though, so he would definitely help. I'm just kind of worried about, would he be a good culture fit if he's what a lot of people are saying he is, like if he's some type of cancer or he's some type of diva, complains about targets, complains about ball usage, throws Goff under the bus. Do we really want that right now at the momentum that we're kind of going right now? So I'm a little bit on the fence with it, but I wouldn't complain too much because look at the player you're getting. He is a good player. And if he was to be brought on, I'm sure Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell would be pretty secure in thinking that he's not going to cause too much static. So, you know what I mean? It's like, how do you feel on it, man?
Well, I looked the last 3 years of how many games he played. 3 years ago, it was 16. Last year, it was 10. Or no, 2 years ago was 10, and then last year was 9. So JMO is suspended 6 games. So if on this trajectory, he would have 8. He would be 8. So he would cover the JMO being covered. But are you wanting to pay $18 million to a guy that will be in 8 games this year?
Well, it's
that's
like,
a joke, by the way. What's going on, Ant-Man? How's it going, bro?
Hey, Mike. Hi, Mark. Hope you're doing well,
guys.
Ant-Man, what's your thoughts of DeAndre Hopkins? Every day it's a new article about him should come into the Detroit Lions. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should just stay well away from him. I don't want us to have anything to do with him, really. You know, we're growing our guys. JMO's going to be back after 6 games. Let's just wait it out. We'll get him back. We'll start developing our own superstars. Not going to pay has-beens $20 million a year to come in and do nothing for us. I want nothing to do with it. Let's keep that cap for something more something more sensible. We are building a sustainable young future here in Detroit, not these type of guys.
Dan the man, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the pod. What do you think about DeAndre Hopkins in the Honolulu blue and silver?
1 year rental, you know, as long as it's not going to kill us, I'd probably say, hey, go for it. It can't hurt us, I don't think. But I agree with Ant-Man. I'm probably not going to go all in on him. I'm not going to give him multi-years. 1 year prove-it deal, sure.
I understand it. Like, for me personally, if I look at players that we should acquire, probably more defensive interior, in my opinion. I got Mark laughing here. I don't know what's going on, Mark, but you got to share.
I'm just laughing. I'm not really.
Anytime you got the laugh going on, we definitely need to know it if it's an inside joke. I want everybody to know about it. It's always fun in games. But yeah, look, I don't think he's coming to the Lions. I think he'll probably go to a team that probably needs a little bit more help at wide receiver. Unlike us, I think our depth's pretty good. I don't know why the Lions would pay that type of money right now, but you never know, right? You never know. So Jameson Williams getting criticism for social media again. I got a question for you, Mark. Do you think that this is getting a little bit overhyped? Is he just like consistently getting criticism for everything that he does?
Well, what happened? I don't know what happened. What happened?
He's getting criticism for social media. You know, a while ago, a couple months ago, he liked the Lamar Jackson to the Lions post. I don't know if it was on Twitter, Instagram, one of those things. And people criticizing him for him in social media.
It just kind of seems like he's a little bit of a target right now, man. You know, it's been we all saw what happened last year, him coming in and, you know, obviously being hurt. And then, you know, he caught one ball, got himself in a little bit of trouble. You know, he's on social media the day after, at some type of boxing match, you know, and, you know, just kind of not given, you know what, you know, it's so he's kind of got a target on his back right now. I think it's a little bit overplayed, though. You know, he's a kid, he's 21 years old or whatever he is. You know, he's not doing anything bad. He made a silly mistake, you know, and he's going to get dragged for it, man. He's a high draft pick, and everything this guy does is going to be under a microscope, you know, from fans, especially. There's fans out there that said that they wanted to trade him after what happened with this gambling issue. You know, gambling's not the issue. It's where he did it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He didn't gamble on the NFL. He just was in NFL headquarters. if he was at Allen Park. Who knows where he was? He's playing it off like he doesn't remember anything, which was kind of hilarious when they were talking to him about it. So, he's trying to do a lot of good things in the community. You see him out there. He actually looks like he's in pretty good shape too. I seen him. I think he was I don't know if he was at a Chick-fil-A or wherever he was. He was in the window, being one of the people taking orders. He looks like he put some weight on, man. He looked pretty good. Just being J-Mo. But everything he does is under a microscope because you traded up to get him. He was such a boss in college, his final year at Alabama. I just think it's a little bit played out, man. And then now him missing 6 games, it just stacks up. When you catch one ball and you're a top 12 pick, things aren't going to go your way, really, man. You kind of have to be a little bit careful on social media. And he hasn't really said anything too bad in social media. He's constantly on there. And he said he was going to take it easy. I do remember him saying that afterwards, going, I think I'm going to just, kind of lay off the social media. I haven't seen too much of what he has or hasn't done. So, man, it's just, let's lay off J-Mo for a bit. We got him week 7.
Ant-Man, do you think it's a little bit overplayed, the criticism of J-Mo now?
No, I mean, these are really serious issues, Mike. When he liked that tweet about Lamar Jackson coming to Detroit, do you know what happened when he did that? All my hair fell out. I mean, Jameson Williams,
the hair that you didn't have, huh?
He is just the worst in the world for doing things like this. I mean, come on, that is serious. I mean, sorry, I can't. It's completely overblown. I don't get it. This fan base loves to pick and choose its targets with its players, and now that some of the more obvious candidates have gone, it seems to be J-Mo the one who's catching flack for everything. I don't care if he likes a tweet about wanting to play with Lamar Jackson. A lot of younger receivers would love to play with him, even if they're on other teams. It's part of your profession. You aspire to play with the best players. You like things like that. He's a kid. I mean, come on. I know he's had the thing with the gambling, but there's water under the bridge. Once he comes back, shows the right attitude, he's going to be absolutely fine. But, we want a superstar wide receiver. They have egos. Sometimes they're a little bit like this, and people love to get after them. But he's our guy. We should be backing him, not knocking him down. And I just don't get why some of the fan base is so rabid when it comes to going after him and trying to critique all these minor little things with him. It's like, grow up. Yeah, he's made a mistake. He's admitted to that. And I thought his interview, he was very impressive. And actually, I thought the media were a little bit lowbrow with it, with all this stuff. I just think it was distasteful, unwarranted. Again, should be supporting your guy. It's all out of proportion. He's made a mistake, but we'll go get him back and we'll see what happens.
For me personally, I'll go to Dan right after this. When I was 2021, I wish that was my only problem, was liking Twitter things. I was getting lit. I was at the clubs getting drunk. I was doing all sorts of bad stuff. So I can't, man, I can't. What a rebel Jameson Williams is, liking some tweets there. I really don't get it. Dan, do you think it's overblown?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, it's a dead time of the year. There's no real stories. People are looking for something to write about or talk about. So the media is going to do what they're going to do. They're going to kick some cans. They're going to try to make some noise. And, like we've all said, he's a 21-year-old kid. Liking something doesn't mean he endorses it. Just like if I like a post about Mellow Yellow. I don't drink Mellow Yellow. I drink Mountain Dew. But it doesn't mean I have anything to do with it. You want to drink Mellow Yellow, go for it.
Yeah. Look, we're all immature when we're young and dumb and full of you-know-what. That's just the way that it is. And he'll be fine, in my opinion. Aleem McNeil cut 13% body fat to improve his pass rushing skills. Mark Orem, that's a lot. That's a lot, Ed. First off, what do you think about that?
Hey, good for Aleem, man. That's a kid we took in the 3rd round. He's supposed to, played nose tackle for us. He's supposed to be that plug-and-play guy at nose tackle, stop the run. And he had a little bit of push to the quarterback that, they're coming out of NC State. So, 3rd year, trying to switch it up a little bit. Aaron Glenn kind of coming out and saying that they're going to maybe try him a little bit at the 3 tech this year, to see if he can get a little bit more push to the quarterback. And, 13%, dropping that much is incredible, man. He only lost about 3 pounds, they say, of mass. So he probably looks really good. One thing I really want him to do is, though, I want him to be better at stopping the run. We've seen Aleem kind of grow here the last couple of years. He's gotten better. He's gotten better for a third-round pick. He's in there starting, one of our starting defensive tackles, nose tackles, if you will. So, that's impressive, man, to be able to do that, especially for a guy his size. He's a big fella. And he thinks he can get to the quarterback a little bit more this year. I got no problem with it, but let's concentrate on, stopping that run too, because that's where our huge problem is.
Ant-Man, what Lee McNeil's doing? What do you think?
I like it. It's one part of his game he wanted to get better at. I mean, I remember a few years ago when we first drafted him, you could see that the potential was there with him. He did have a pass rush arsenal to him. It was just sometimes he was that split second slow getting to the quarterback. So the fact that he's taking efforts to amend this now, he's doing really well against the run for that part. He wants to get the pass rushing game of his game up. Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. And I think he can be more of a disruptor type if you want him to be not just, a rock in the middle. You can use him as an offensive weapon. So some of the guys we've got in there behind him now, you can afford to have that freedom with him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him. He's been one of my favorite players on this team since we drafted him, still is. And I can't wait for year 3. I said he can be our Kenny Clark. I still fully believe he can be our Kenny Clark. He can be at that level. And if, the pass rush goes up this year, by the end of year 3, he'll be well on course to get there. So, yeah, good for him.
So, in OTAs, I made a video because I just reported on it because I had winners and losers. And one of my losers on there was Jared Goff because he played a little bit like booty cheeks, according to all the beat writers that are out there. A lot of people are angry that I said, well, then he's a loser for that. Not saying it's anything to worry about. I'm not too worried about it personally because it's just an OTA. But what is your thoughts about that, Mark Orem? Him, not performing too well. He is throwing balls way past the receiver, underthrowing. Thoughts on it?
Yeah, I kind of heard this coming home too, by the way. When I was coming home, I won a ticket, Mike Valente and Rico Beard and whoever else was on there, Hatchet Man, whatever. They were talking about it too. They said there was a report out there. I know Jeff Risdon the other day was talking about this on a pod that they got in there on Thursday because they weren't allowed to go in Tuesday, Wednesday. So they got Thursday. They got to go see him, see the whole team actually. And the reports were from Risdon anyways that Goff didn't look good. That Goff didn't look good on the Thursday. He was overthrowing, underthrowing guys, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, whatever they're doing, no pressure in their face. I'm just going to say it's May. Yep. You know what I mean? It's May. Let's get that out of the way right now. But, it's something to keep an eye on because this has been talked about since he's been here. This was talked about when he was in LA after 2019 when he hurt his thumb. When he hurt his thumb, he apparently lost some grip, lost some throwing power. 2019, we saw him in LA. He didn't really have a good year. 2020, and then all of a sudden he's a Lion in 2021. And this is what we've been hearing for the last 3-4 years now. But like I'm going to repeat again, it is May, but it's something to keep an eye on. We got some guys on this team that are going to be able to fly down the field. We got LaPorta, working those seams. Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go vertical. It's not just going to go out in the flats. We got some guys, man. Josh Reynolds, sneaky fast, good route runner. So, and it's been talked about for the last couple of years about his arm strength. One day it's there, one day it's not. One day he looks really good in OTAs or training camp, and then he doesn't. So, and we've seen it in games, guys. We've seen it in games. We've seen him underthrowing guys. We've seen guys having to stop. Not everything's going to be perfect, man. But it's just something to keep an eye on. I'm not too worried about it because it is May. But let's just hope this doesn't continue. Let's just hope they work out these kinks and he fixes that issue.
Are you worried about this report there, Ant-Man, about Jared Goff?
No. I saw this not so long ago. I just actually tweeted about it through our thing. There are 998 other issues I could probably think of that I would be more concerned about than what my QB is throwing at OTAs in May. I really couldn't care less. I mean, remember that time when Jared Goff first got here and, it was like proper practices just before the season, and we heard, "Oh my God, his connection with DeAndre Swift is amazing. This is going to be the best thing since sliced bread." It works both ways, and it didn't really happen during the season there, did it? I can't care less what he's doing. It's the start of the season. It's literally the first throwing they'll be doing this season. Oh God, this is why I hate offseason. Stuff like this will get blown up, and it'll get blown up by people who are really hurt that Jared Goff played well last year, and they can't continue the agenda against him and make fun of him and get rid of him. And they're just looking for any little slither of light at this moment in time to be able to bash him. I mean, if it comes to the season, he's playing poorly, fine, but I just do not give a toss what he's doing in OTAs. Fix it, work on it when it comes to proper camp, get going for the season. He showed me what he needed to on the actual field last year against real NFL players and real NFL defenses, not in OTAs in May. I couldn't give a damn.
He's got a couple new receivers here. Marvin Jones Jr., Jameson Williams, basically kind of new receiver right there. So I'm personally not worried about it, but it did happen, so you got to talk about it. Dan the Man, thoughts on Jared Goff being a little bit off?
I think you just kind of mentioned it. Who's he throwing to at that moment? Is it somebody new that maybe he doesn't have much of a bond or a connection with? Maybe the timing's a little off. Maybe if he's throwing say LaPorta, deep crosser, he just isn't quite yet comfortable with how quick or slow, whatever it may be, LaPorta is, or whoever's out there. Are they new routes, new segments of the offense? That's why we have OTAs or practices, so these players can get on board with each other and learn each other. If this is happening deep in, say, August, then that's a problem. But to me, this is just boredom in the media, somebody trying to find something to write about.
Yeah, hey, Nate Sudfeld was great in OTAs. There you go. Enough said. That beats
right. Apparently he lit it up on Thursday. Yeah, apparently he lit it up.
Yeah, there you go.
Why
we got QB? Absolutely not. It means absolutely nothing. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's just go ahead and get to some QA because people are wanting to know and do some questions here. What about Chase Young, Ant-Man? Should the Lions make a run at Chase Young? Should they chase for Young?
I mean, yeah, he's a really good player. But again, at the same point, I'm like, do I want to sort of, stunt the development of our pass rushers that we're growing here? I still want Houston to have a big role here this year. I want to see Pascal on this team more this year. We've invested in these guys, and so, I mean, obviously, yes, I'd love to have Chase Young here, but am I that fussed about edge? No, not really, because I'd rather our younger guys do it. They did it last year. Houston showed he could do it. Pascal showed he could do it. Hutch certainly showed he could do it. Let them guys keep balling, but I mean, if it happened, I'm definitely not going to complain.
Hey, Dragon fan, sorry for losing your aunt. Oh, rest in peace to her. Condolences for sure. And definitely we talk Lions talk too. That's what it's all about, is to get get away from the normal grind of day to day and all the stuff that we got to deal with. And that's a good way for us. What do you think about going after Hopkins? Dan the Man, again, this is another question. He must not have been here when we talked about it.
If you're going to get him on a one-year deal, sure, he's going to add some talent and probably overall upgrade the wide receiver room. We all know J-Mo's going to be out for 6 games, so he helps fill that role there. If nothing else, even if he just adds another body out there, it helps with the injuries. And we all know that's going to happen in every position. So when you're already down one guy in the first 6 games, let's be fair, we want to win the majority of those in order to have a real shot at the division and then a good seed in the playoffs. On a one-year rental, I take him.
Yeah, okay. Mark Orm, what about re-signing Dominic Raiola to
Hey, Frank's got that inoperable toe, so you never know. Let's see what Big Dom's doing.
And now we're not talking about Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious.
Toretto. Oh, yeah.
Hey, you'll be hearing about his son soon enough, so
right.
He could be here soon enough.
Where's this kid going again? What school is this kid going to again?
He decommitted from Ohio State. He's gone elsewhere. I can't remember where he's gone. I think it's Oregon. Is he going to Oregon?
Nebraska, I think maybe.
Or is it Nebraska?
I forget.
You should be going to the Ducks. Best place for him to go.
I
Hashtag smashed a hole. Week 1 score prediction versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan, what is your prediction?
41-33 Lions. James Houston leads the team with 4.5 sacks.
What about you, Ant-Man?
Oh, score prediction. 40-36 Lions.
Mark Oram from Orem's Orem.
Wow, this is way too early for this. Okay, I'm going to say 50-51 Detroit Lions. Let's go. Let's go.
Ooh. I'll go 32-27 Detroit. I think the Lions defense will show up a little bit. I don't think it's going to be some gigantic score, but it'll be they'll put up some points. That is for sure.
Yeah.
How much would Chase Young cost? How much do you think it would cost to get Chase Young, Ant-Man, in a trade?
Oh, I was thinking contract there. I mean, I don't know what's he in his last year now. Is it his last year of his rookie deal?
They declined his 5th-year option, so yes.
Last year.
So, if they're declining the option, maybe you feel like the value is maybe not as high as you think, but it's certainly going to be a day 2 pick at least, a high one, maybe a day 1 one, I'm not sure. But then the contract's going to be huge as well. So that's kind of why I want to side away from it, because you're about to give him the bag, and, there's a lot of our young players that are going to need paying soon, and I don't see it's worth it. Not while we've got Houston and Pascal here. I just couldn't do it.
Mark Orem, who leads the Lions in sacks?
Well, it's got to be Aiden. It's got to be Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's gonna get 13 to 15 sacks. Been calling 15 for a while now. So he almost had double digits last year. He was inches away from at least 2 or 3 more that we've seen. So, I think he's got 15 on the horizon easy, man. I think he's going to get that.
Yeah, inches, like every inch counts.
Oh,
that is 100%.
It
Dan,
really does.
Dan,
Yes, sir.
Who do you think leads in sacks?
I'm going to go with Houston. I just think Hutchinson's going to have a very, very good season, but because he's going to draw so much coverage, I think they're going to find creative ways to get Houston in single, not coverage, but blocking, and he should be able to win the majority of those. I don't think he's going to play every single down, but I think he's going to make an impact when he's out there.
I like it.
I like it too. I love it. What about you, Ant-Man? Who do you think leads in sacks?
There's so many options.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go left field. I think it might be Romeo on a renaissance here.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be, because Aiden's going to draw a lot of coverage. The interior's going to draw a lot of coverage. I think a guy like him could potentially get hot, get a lot. I'll go with Romeo.
Okay. All right, for sure. I like that one. I'm going to go with left field here. I'm going to go with Cliff Averill.
Coming out of retirement. All right.
Coming out of retirement, out of nowhere, going to get sacks here. Shout out to Cliff Averill for being a real one. Now I go Aiden Hutchinson. I think he'll be the guy that will get 15 sacks. I've been saying 15. I think that's the right number there for sure. Absolutely no doubt about it. If you got questions, throw it in the comment section right now. Hashtag Lions, hashtag LNU, hashtag Burns, whatever you want to do. Hashtag we can't see it. Lions and Green Bay play both their games on Thursday night. Is that the first time divisional teams have played both games on a Thursday night? I didn't even notice that, Burns. I don't know. That's got to be the first. Well, does anybody know anything different? I've never even thought about that.
It's not on. Well, the one game is a Thursday night, but the other game is the Thanksgiving game.
That's right.
That's a Thursday.
Yeah, during the day. Yeah.
Still, it's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday, though. It is a Thursday.
Yeah, and it could be a nighttime if you're in Australia or something. So, technically speaking, I don't know. That's interesting. What's going on at Weston line? Could you imagine Chase Young, Aiden Hutchinson each on the defensive line, Dan? Oof. Dan.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Could you picture Chase Young and Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive line? What would you think?
Sorry, the screen froze up for a second. Yeah, I could. It's just, what are you going to give up? You know, like Ant-Man said, you know, if you're going to keep him, obviously after next year you got to pay him. But I think, you know, the Lions aren't going to be in a position where they're going to give up like a second or a third for him. You'd have to just get him off Washington's books. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe Brad Holmes gives him a fifth or sixth for him. But again, if you're gonna go for him, you're gonna have to keep him.
Hashtag smash the hole. Devin Davis. Do y'all think the Lions to make and win the Super Bowl, people would just say it's a fluke? I don't care if they say they could say whatever they want to say. If the Lions went out there and won the Super Bowl, they can say anything. I don't say they could say the cheat, deflated balls. It's Devil's Night in Detroit. I don't give a dang if the Lions won the Super Bowl, I'm on cloud 9 for the next 20 years. What would you care? Would they say it's a fluke? Would you care there, Ant-Man?
No, I'd be too busy celebrating. I just wouldn't even give them the time of day. I don't care how we do it, as long as we do it.
For sure. Let's see. Has Emmanuel Mosley started running or participating in OTAs? I haven't heard anything of him participating at all. I don't know about running. That's one thing.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did in the first OTAs. I don't think he's done much.
Dan the man, adios.
See you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. Hashtag Lions. Who are the starters at safety, strong safety, and nickel? Well, I could not tell you that right now because they're going to be utilizing the CJ Gardner-Johnson could be playing safety and nickel, and same with Brian Branch. I don't know that, but I can at least give you an idea that Tracy Walker will be getting a lot of time there. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, like what you say, you know, we got some guys that are extremely versatile here. So, you know, it kind of sounds like right now that Brian Branch is kind of going to be the guy that's kind of maybe coming off the bench here and there. He might be that fifth DB, even sixth DB coming off the bench, you know, in that 4-2-5 that we run. So free safety, you know, it's probably going to be, you know, Tracy Walker, will it be Kirby Joseph? And then you got CJ Gardner-Johnson. And then, you know, you can't keep those guys off the field much. You know, Walker still coming back from injury. So I see right now, if we're going to talk right now, if it would start tomorrow, it'd probably be Kirby Joseph, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and then maybe in the nickel, it could be either Cam Sutton, it could be Brian Branch, you know, even CJ Gardner-Johnson and nickel too. So don't really have an answer for you. I'm kind of all over the board with that. I just love that we have the versatility, and I think Aaron Glenn is just going to keep rotating these guys in and out and switching guys. You're going to see Brian Branch here, see him up top, playing high safety. They're going to see the same with CJ. So it's going to throw a lot of confusion out there for offenses, and I love it.
Yeah, there's no real answer right now. We'll find out on Sunday. There's going to be special packages for everybody. I think you'll see a lot of people out there, and it's going to be glorious. How many interceptions for Kirby Joseph this year? I'll go 6 interceptions. I'm going to match his college number. What about you, Ant-Man?
Well, Justin Fields is in the division, so that's good for at least 3 or 4. So,
but Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeah.
He had his number.
Yeah, but I remember Jordan Love in college, and he was not averse to throwing the odd pick here and there either. So I reckon he's good for some. I say about 8. I think he's going to go good this year.
Pro Bowl.
But the thing is, you've got to think who's in there with him. Like Mark was just saying, right. When you've got Branch and Gardner-Johnson and all these ball hawks back there, they're not going to be looking at Kirby. They're going to be looking at all these other guys throwing up and be like, you know, who the hell do you throw against on this team? I think somebody, if not Kirby, is just going to load up this year on picks because QBs are going to be worried about who they're throwing at.
No, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. You're right. And if they don't want to pay attention to Kirby, that's a big mistake because this guy is a turnover machine. The guy runs to the football 24/7. Mark, how many interceptions do you think he gets?
I'm going to meet you guys in the middle, man. Mike, you said 6. Anthony said 8. I'm going to say 7. I'm going to say 7, man. Just like I love what Anthony said there about, you know, he kind of might be the guy that offenses really don't keep a key eye on because you got the CJ Garner-Johnson over there. You're going to have to worry about Cam Sutton over here. So he could be a guy that could be sneaky good and start sniping quarterbacks. So I see Kirby having another big year. He had a nice ball hawk year coming out last year. We saw a little bit of that in his last year at college. Finally got some playing time, and he translated that on the field as a rookie, and he made Aaron Rodgers his baby. He was his daddy. So, but Rodgers is gone, and like Anthony said too, Jordan Love, man, he's no stranger to throwing the INT. So, I expect about 7 from Kirby. I expect this whole secondary just to kill it this year.
They're going to kill it. It's going to be – I think that's the most underrated and underappreciated part of this defense that I don't think is being talked about enough is the amount of people that's going to get interceptions and turnovers on this defense. They did it last year, and now they just added a ton of playmakers that love getting interceptions. And, my God, I think it's going to be a turnover defense. And when you give that football back over Jared Goff in this offense, it's over, folks, because they're going to score points, what they always do. And it's going to be really, really fun to watch. And I love me getting there's nothing better than watching one of our guys get an interception. That's why I loved having Darius Slay. Big play Slay would always get a pick just at the right time. And it just, it's glorious. And I'm with you. I think we're going to get a ton of INTs. And that's something that teams better pay attention to really quick. They think it's going to be a walkover. I think that's incorrect. Is it better to save $23 million in cap to pay off contracts next year or blow it in free agency this year? It depends who would be available and what you want to do. I'm not going to say either way because there is a trade deadline that they could trade for a player that could take them over the hump, maybe if they feel that they're just like a player away, or if they're perfectly fine with this roster, save the money. What about you, Ant-Man?
So, yeah, I was about to say third suggestion for me is not to use it in free agency now, not to roll it over next year. We are not used to this as Lions fans, but we are going to be buyers at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
I fully believe that. We are going to be in a position where we're doing well and we are going to be buyers. Save that money for the trade deadline and buy up players when teams are selling and make that team even better. I think that's why that money is there now. Because if you get to the trade deadline and, the worst happens and it all falls apart and we're doing bad, roll it over for next year. Yeah. Just put as many assets as you can into 2024. If you reach the trade deadline and you're 500 or above, you're looking pretty for the division, you spend that sucker in the deadline, you just load up on players. That is what I do with that money. I wouldn't touch it until then.
And I agree with you. I think that's why I said the trade deadline right off rip. Because it does make you think like, okay, if you're saving this money and there could be a team that's fallen off a cliff and they got a great player and we're one player away from just going over the top, then make the trade, So I think that makes sense. What about you, Mark?
I feel the same way as you guys. We all know Brad Holmes likes to keep a little bit of a kitty, possibly around $10, $12 million, just in case. We got 23 and change out there. So, who knows what he's going to do right now? I think, like Anthony said, I think we're going to stand and pat. Something happens during the season where we're looking, to obviously win the division, make the playoffs. If something goes south, or even not go south, we just need to improve on a player. We can go get somebody on a team. I mean, we can use some of that cap and spend some of that money. So, obviously, Brad Holmes is going to keep a little bit of money on the side. But yeah, let's kind of wait to see what happens during the season. And then we can make a move and then go get a player.
Can you guys name the starters on offense and defense to start the season? Sure, I could go ahead and go on the offense really quick. We'll start tight ends there. Sam LaPorta will be out there. He'll be your number one just right off rip. And it could be Brock Wright or James Houston for that number 2 spot. Then you go with the offensive line, Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnar, Halapaludi Vati Vaitai at right guard. That's what I'm saying here. Penei Sewell, David Montgomery as your running back, wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, Jameson Williams is not going to start because he's suspended. We'll go with Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, and maybe Marvin Jones Jr. if they go 4-man set right there. Yeah. And obviously, Jared Goff is your quarterback. That's what I got. Defensively, Aiden Hutchinson, Romeo Aquara, Aleem McNeil, There'll be the main guys there. I think you'll have Charles Harris, obviously, Isaiah Buggs coming in at different times. Same with John Kaminsky. The defensive line's different. I'm not going to say this is a starter because they're all going to be coming in and out at different times. Linebacker, I do think it'd be Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell. They'll be your primary guys. For corners, you're going to have Cameron Sutton. And I'm going to say Jerry Jacobs will be the other one. I don't know if Emmanuel Mosley will be ready. So Jerry Jacobs there. Safeties, God, that's tough. I think Kirby Joseph will be starter. Tracy Walker and CJ Gardner-Johnson, whether it be nickel or whatever, wherever spot. It's a little more difficult there, Mark Orem.
Yeah, for sure. I think the secondary is very difficult. We just kind of touched on it too. So, like your nickel is, could Chase Lucas make a leap? Don't really know. He's a 7th round pick last year, but it's probably going to be guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson. You're going to see Jerry Jacobs in there. It's just going to be, just a rotational piece, I think, in that secondary, man. I think Brad Holmes purposely did this. He went out and got some guys that are just extremely versatile. They can play everywhere. I personally think Mosley is going to be the starter. I think he's going to be ready. Jerry Jacobs will be right there waiting on him. So, backing him up. So I think it's going to be a good rotational piece. It's hard to really nail down that secondary though, because I just love what we did in the safety room and that nickel room. So it's going to be key.
What about you, man?
So again, defense is very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, until you've had camp, until you've had all this, you just don't know. And, I've had some time off from doing this for a little while now, and I've just been sort of sitting in and listening to Lions podcasts the last few weeks, and one of the things that sort of got at me in terms of starters, and because someone asked this question earlier about what rookie's going to start day one, and everyone's assuming Jack Campbell's going to start. I mean, right now, if you're going to give me a choice between Jack Campbell and Malcolm Rodriguez as to who starts at that position next to Alex, I pick Rodrigo without hesitation. He has earned his way into this team. He's done it the hard way. He absolutely bust his back multiple times over last year to get in this team and played incredibly well for a big chunk of this season. Campbell's earned nothing yet. And for me, he is going to have to outwork him. He is going to have more intensity, more passion, do more than Rodrigo to unseat him from a starting position. I am not starting Jack Campbell over Rodrigo right now. If he shows it in camp and he beats him out, fine. But right now, I take exception to people just chucking Rodrigo out the team because he's exactly the type of player this team is built on. Someone who maybe shouldn't have had the opportunity or we didn't think was going to, who did. So, yeah, Campbell, you ain't starting right now. You're got to earn your way into this team. Don't care whether you're a 1st round pick, 7th round pick, undrafted free agent. Right now, Rodrigo starts.
Yeah, I still think Jack Campbell's going to be the guy week one.
Sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you much, Anthony, but I just think Campbell, I'm not saying obviously if we were to do it right now, of course, Rodrigo is the guy, right? We saw what he did last year, 6th round pick. A lot of people didn't really know who he really was unless you're really focusing on the draft. And all of a sudden, boom, this kid's like the best linebacker on the team during training camp. And we're like, bam, okay, we got ourselves a keeper. They went out and got a guy in the 1st round, an off-the-ball linebacker that kind of does a lot. That does it all. He can cover, he can pass cover. If he has to even blitz a little bit, he can. He's not a blitzing linebacker, but he's that athletic. He plays the run exceptionally well. He can run with certain players, tight ends, running backs. Stops the run. He's big. He's got good sideline to sideline. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to. And I'm not saying he's going to completely throw Rodrigo in the trash. There's no way. I just think it's going to, again, it's all going to come down to rotation. And I think it's going to be Anzalone. I think Campbell's going to win a spot. And I think him and Rodrigo are going to come flushing in and out all the time. And I think it's going to be a nice rotation. No disrespect to Rodrigo whatsoever, but I do understand where you're coming from because Rodrigo, man, that kid, he is Detroit. You know what I mean? He's the grit. He's the guy that, that everybody looks up to. 6th round pick, doing his thing. So, I think it's going to be a nice rotation, man, right there. But
if he wins it in camp, I have no problem. The question is who's going to start now? And for me, it's you got to earn your way in. So until
100%.
you've seen camp, it's hard to say who's gonna start. If Malcolm continues to perform as he does, then I don't think it's cut and dry. But we will see with it.
It's a nice problem to have. That's for sure. It's a nice problem to have, man. You got you got some guys coming off the bench that can play. I love it. But he's got to earn it.
Smash the hole. I heard there was a couple of rule changes for this season. Any idea what they are? There's always going to be rule changes. I haven't really paid attention. Just happens quite a bit.
There's the kickoff rule. Kickoff rule where you can down the ball anywhere and it comes back to the 25-yard line, I believe. Yeah. So that's kind of a silly rule.
So like if you down it at the 1-yard line, it goes to 25?
Yeah. You can.
What if you down it at the 35?
Oh, then you're at the 35-yard line.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a silly rule. It just takes away from the game a little bit more than what they're always trying to say this is a safety thing, but you ask any coach, any football player out there if they like this rule, it's a terrible rule. It's just a dumb rule. So that, and I think there was you can carry 3 quarterbacks now. One of them is not on the roster, I believe. That's another rule. I don't know. There's probably a couple other more.
There's that, and there's the other one where you're allowed 3 questionable refereeing calls against the Lions if you're playing them, and you can hand them in whenever you wish, whether it be at the end of the game on a game-winning drive, whatever. That is allowed.
Yeah. Jeez, hey?
This is a great rule change that hopefully it does change this year. It's called the Stop Dumping on Lions rule change. I 100% agree. I've been waiting for this one for 38 years, and I have yet to see it changed. Mark, do you think that this rule change will happen at some point?
Yeah, we just got to prove it. We just have to prove it. And then, just like, the question was, if we go to the Super Bowl, are people still going to say it was a fluke? So it's always out there. No matter what we do, the 8-2 that we did at the end of the year is still dumped on by, especially within our division. Packer fans pretend that it never happened. Chicago Bear fans pretend it didn't happen. Vikings fans. So, yeah, man, I hope that rule changes, man, would stop dumping on the Lions. But we need to prove it, and we need to show out and win this division. And I think that's where it starts.
Mark's 100% right there. I mean, this is the year where there's expectation on the team, and they've got to show they can win with it. I mean, you can't even really count the back end of last year because at 1-6, expectations way low. You've got to prove that you can start well and keep going and win it. And this is the season for it now. It's my number one issue of concern with this team. Let's say, can they deal with it and win when it matters? And we've got to do that if we want to be taken seriously.
Sure.
Do you think we get more wins in the first half or second half of the season?
I got to see the schedule. I don't remember what it was.
I don't think it's going to be like last year where we absolutely was butt cheeks with 1-6 and then went 8-2. I think it'll probably be steady. I'm thinking it's more going to be steady. I'm not even going to look at the schedule to even give you an idea there. I just think it'll be steady. I'll say more wins at the second half of the season just for S and giggles.
Yeah.
What about you, man?
The first half's a lot harder. I mean, you think of those first few weeks alone. Chiefs away, Seahawks at home, Nemesis Panthers at home as well. You've got another road trip in there to the Packers, I think, week 4.
Yeah.
But again, I know last year we lost a lot and then won a lot, but that doesn't often happen. You don't get turnarounds like that. I think if you win a lot in the first half, you will win a lot later on in the season as well. I think it's just very difficult. If you go 0-6, 0-7, then we're just not going to win games later in the season. But if we're 4-3, whatever, you might win a lot more. I think it'll be even. I think we will evenly win games throughout the year because I think that's what good teams do. They sort of win consistently and always stay up at the top.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it would be somewhat even. Not like last year where it's completely lopsided. I don't see a lopsided thing happening with the Lions this year. I think it's be a little more consistent. CT squad also heard Big V is moving and feeling well. What's up with Levi? Oh, Levi broke Zarike. Still not doing anything, and don't expect him to do anything. I think that is a lost cause. But yes, Big V out there doing his thing, and it is good to see Mark Oram from Orams, Mark Oram.
Yes. I also love what Big V also had to say about coming back to Detroit. You know, he was close to retirement, but he was like, I got to win one for Dan. You know, this is where I want to be. You know, he almost hung it up because of that back injury, man. That's a big fella out there. You know, and when you're that big and you have that kind of surgery, you know, he almost retired. So, and he wanted to come back. He wanted to win one for Dan. He loved his offensive unit, his offensive line guys. So it's good that he's moving around. You know, and Levi, like Mike said, you know, there's reports out there that Levi, he can't even get his arms past his knees when he bends over. You know, he's doing some stretches. And guys like from Risden, Eric Schlitt, if you go on Twitter, they all came out and they were like, he does not look like he's even close to being ready. I don't think he's going to play this year. I have a feeling they're just going to cut him eventually.
Injury settlement.
Yeah, injury settlement. What do you have, Mike? That spinal fusion surgery?
Spinal fusion. When I said it happened, I said, "Oh man, that's pretty much the end of it, there."
So, you know, he's just counting the days. I think he's trying to get back. Credit him for trying to get back, man, working hard. But you know, it's just it's a pick that you know that never should have been picked, man. He never should have been drafted. You know, we talk about Brad Holmes being a genius here, being a super GM, and we love what he's done, but he had back issues in college, man. He had him in college, but he just fell in love with him, fell in love with Levi, drafted him in the second. So, and we saw what happened. So it kind of sucks about Levi, but I don't think he's even going to be in the NFL too much longer, to be honest with you.
Aiden Hutchinson is expected to leave the team in sacks. Who do you guys think is second on this football team, Ant-Man?
Like I said, I think sneakily Romeo's going to have a really good year. I think he's been forgotten about. I think I remember the guy before the injury, and I think he's going to have a lot of time to work his way into this rotation and get favorable snaps, putting him in good positions to succeed. So I still think he's a dark horse to get a lot of sacks on this team, and I hope he does. So Romeo for me.
What do you got, Mark Oram?
I love that Romeo pick, Anthony. I love it, but I'll just go the easy route and I'll say Houston. You know, we saw what he did last year as a rookie. He's a special pass rusher. You know, he's kind of a one-trick pony a little bit, but what he does is he does really well. And if you follow him and see what he's doing this year, he's gone through a lot of avenues of getting better at that skill set at pass rushing. So I expect him to be, you know, get right in there and be second to Aiden Hutchinson. You know, I went kind of the easy route, but I just think he's a special kid. I don't really see anybody else kind of passing those two. But I do love the Romeo pick. And, you know, we saw what Romeo did a few years back, man, and I think he's a good talent too. So hopefully Romeo can be right there with those two guys.
Akwara brothers, is there a chance they get cut? I say Julian Akwara is a chance that he gets cut. Me and Ant-Man been talking about this for about year now.
Yeah,
He's gone. Yeah. I don't even think he doesn't make the 53. I don't even think he gets close to it. I'm sorry, I do like him, but you've had your time. I ain't wasting as much time as we did on the Sean Hand with you. I've seen what guys like Houston and Rodrigo can come in and do in this team as late round picks. They produce far more, look far better. Your time's up. You're in a crowded room. Bye-bye.
Who will be our biggest impact player and which will be the worst, Mark?
The biggest impact player. I'm going to say biggest impact. I'm going to say Aiden Hutchinson again. I'm sticking with the kid from Michigan, man. I think he's going to be an absolute terror on defense this year. And who will be the worst? That's a tough one. The worst. I don't know, man, because you want to pick kind of a starter, right? Let's say I'm going to say Frank Ragnow. Not that I think he's a bad player. I just think that toe man, that toe really worries me this year. That toe, it's completely like he's got to get that thing lopped off or something. I don't know what's going on.
Cut off.
Yeah, but it's like he's saying that it's completely inoperable now, but he says he's in good spirit. He's in good spirits. He's not doing too much, but I think that's going to come hurt us maybe a little bit. And it's not because he's a bad center. I think he's one of the better centers in the league. It's just that I think that injury is going to catch up to him, man. And hopefully, a guy like Glasgow can go in there and take some snaps.
What do you think, Ant-Man?
Gibbs is going to be the biggest impact player. He is going to thrive in this offense. The things that guy can do, I'm just so looking forward to. I know Monty is good and Monty is great, but what Jahmyr Gibbs can do with the football in his hands, whether it's thrown to him or handed off to him, is next level. And I just think the way our offense operates, we've got linemen who love to get out, out down the field, blocking we'll get to the perimeter. He'll be out there. He'll be making yards. He's going to be a big weapon on this team. And you're going to see him in the slot a lot. You're going to see him doing all sorts. Worst, again, I don't really kind of want to rag on anyone on this team, but I guess if you're looking at that, it would be somewhere in the secondary, I would guess. If we've got a lot of new guys in there, we've got a lot of expectation on them. Sutton's in there, Mosley's in there. CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, Gardner-Johnson might just decide, what, not really for me. He might just be bad. He might not be, but that's had an entire revamp that room has. So for me, it's going to take the longest to kind of gel and get to where it wants to go. So that could be where the issue is. But overall, I don't think we have a glaring weakness, which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice to say that, eh? It is nice to say that.
Most impactful, I'll go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Always got to give it to my guy. He's always making plays that no one really pays attention to, but he's an impact player, first downs. Will Harris will be my guy, who I don't think is an impact player, and
yeah.
And that's what I got there. That's what I got there, folks. We've been on for about an hour. Mark Orm, what do you got to say to the folks? We close this bad boy out.
Hey, man, thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks a lot, Anthony. It was awesome coming on. Lions Nation Unite. Love it. Thanks, everybody in the chat. It wasn't for you guys, man. We couldn't do this. Love it, too, man. Hope you guys are all good. Thanks a lot, man. Check me out on Mark Orm's forum. I got some videos coming out. I've been a little bit slow on them lately. I just got some personal reasons for that, but that's okay. And come check me out on Orm's forum. I do all Lions content, man.
Ant-Man, Roar to Lions UK.
Yeah, you can find us, as like Mike says, at Roar to Lions UK. We're a bunch of Detroit Lions fans from over the Atlantic. If you want to have a different take on the Lions from a British perspective, come check us out. And again, just thanks to you, Mike and Mark. I've enjoyed this. I've had a few weeks off. I've hated every moment of it. I've kind of wanted to carry on, but I know I just needed to recharge the batteries. But I'm glad to be back doing this. And and thanks to everyone who's joined us. Always good fun doing these Tuesday streams.
That's the best time to do a recharge, is in the lull period where there's really nothing going on for 2 months. You got to recharge, but training camp's right around the corner, and then we get to start all over again and again. It's going to be some good fun. Appreciate everybody hanging out. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And fuck all the doubters. They're just young downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the